Janice, you're speaking to 3.1?
Well, I'm just speaking, really.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. How are you, Rod?
Doing good, thank you.
And the esteemed City Councilman and Ms. Lucero. My name is Janice Powell. I was born here in Summit City, and I've lived in the city of Shasta Lake most of my life. I'm a registered voter, and I currently live with my parents on Kokanee Drive in Rancho Pines. You all probably know my grandfathers came here in 1938 to build Shasta Dam, and most of my family still lives here. We are dam descendants, and we're proud of our roots in Shasta County. Members of my family have always been taught to contribute and become productive members of society. Like our friends and neighbors, we join charitable clubs, churches, historical organizations. We work at fundraising and participate in service groups in order to better ourselves and the lives of our neighbors. I have recently been appointed to the Parks and Recreation Commission, and when my schedule permits, I try to be aware of issues that are presented before the City Council. I attended the last council meeting to witness two speakers who have issues with your conduct, Ms. Lucero, as a council person for our city. Frankly, I was more uncomfortable with your attitude towards a citizen who was volunteering for the Vector Board. The way you ignored her was embarrassing. She was obviously uncomfortable while you grilled the city staff for a job description, and you rambled on about possible requirements and qualifications of people who are just here to volunteer. I knew exactly how she felt because you did the same thing to me when I stood up here to receive my appointment. I couldn't believe it when you voted to reject my offer to volunteer my time, especially when I was the only one volunteering for 2 posts. It wouldn't surprise me at all if other people in our community decided not to serve on any committee and hesitated when they get that sort of treatment from our council. I want to read to you a little bit. I promise I'll stay to 3 minutes. From this book, it's called The Moral Compass. And maybe this chapter on citizenship and leadership will help to remind you of the powerful position that you hold. It says here that the success of any organization depends on the character of its citizens. Good citizens are those who know and live up to their duties by exercising virtue, such as responsibility, loyalty, self-discipline, work ethic, and, the most important, a civil demeanor. In our community, we find lots of great people ready and willing to volunteer to do their part. I was so happy to see the success of this summer's Friday night in the park with people like Chris and Kay Kobe, Candace Vaughn, Brad Dupre. They were all working together towards a common goal. There are dedicated volunteers like the Hurlhays, who even after a defeat at the polls continue with their promise of committed service. We see them accepting responsibility, sacrificing their own interests, and more of their own time and money for the good of the rest of us. In the city of Shasta Lake, we're fortunate to have good people who stand beside their neighbors. And unfortunately now, we have those like you. At certain times in our lives, we're all called to lead in some capacity as a team captain, a club president, state representative, or on a board of directors, or maybe a church mission. This book, Moral Compass, reminds us of what it takes to lead successfully. Compassion, courage, perseverance, wisdom, and sometimes even faith. It says that leaders are ultimately judged in terms of how well they serve their followers, and most importantly, by the example that they set. I believe that we have such a leader in our new mayor, Rod Lindsay, who seems to not lead just by the command of his position, but by the force of his friendly character and his great Native American spirit. I think that we all noticed that before he was called to lead, Rod practiced being a good follower. He appreciated the leadership skills of Mr. Watkins, our mayor, and he listened to the other council members. He actively gained the knowledge that he would need by cooperating with city staff and helping to solve the hardships that our community has faced. Finally, and I do promise 3 minutes, I want to read another selection or talk about another thing in this book. It's what I think is overlooked in today's world, and it's gratitude. If we're not grateful for our gifts and opportunities, we're not likely to value them. And if we do not have value in them, we're not likely to work hard to preserve and improve them. Gratitude is an important attribute of good citizenship, especially among a people who are so blessed like we are with the political freedoms that we have. Good citizenship and good leadership usually require a certain degree of diplomacy. That's really important to know about. The chronic complainer, on the other hand, not only fails to contribute, but she often threatens to become the one who dooms the common enterprise. Aristotle speaks of such a person in this next paragraph, and I ask all of you if you think this sounds familiar at all. There is the one who cannot steer, that cannot splice, that dodges the work on dark nights, the one who can't do most things and won't do the rest, the pet of philanderism and self-seeking developers, the sweet, sympathetic, and deserving creature that knows all about her rights, but knows nothing of courage, of endurance, and of the unexpressed faith, of the unspoken loyalty that knits together a community council. Whining and grumbling and complaining are not simply unattractive, Ms. Lucero. They are symptoms of selfishness. And honestly, an overriding concern with the self is not the business of citizenship. Among good citizens, Aristotle told us, the salvation of the community is the common business of them all. With my time here at the podium coming to an end, I want to conclude with words of gratitude to our city manager, Carol Martin, and her staff. Thank you for your patience in these troubled times, for your knowledge of the government codes, and for your service to our community. And lastly, Ms. Lucero, this is your red flag warning. Heed it. You are damn close to forcing the citizens of our community into an expensive and long drawn-out recall of your position on the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Powell.